Here's my tier list for the current patch. Let's go over it together and why some of these heroes are now improved or got worse. Now it's important to note this is not for Diablo meta because Diablo is only in the game for a week, so this is not gonna apply to this short tempo meta that we have. Instead, this is just gonna apply when Diablo is back gone. But Diablo is also in here. I will be giving him a rating, but all of the other heroes are based on the playtime I had before Diablo meta. And I guess one more disclaimer, because I know I'm gonna get those comments. Yes, HS Replay or different websites might have different stats for heroes. Yes, depending on which rank you play them and which tribe in the lobbies, all of these heroes are also going to be different. Some are better in lower ranks, some in higher ranks. And yes, top players will not agree on tier lists. Almost everyone makes their own and different tier lists. So this is just my take. This is how good I think heroes are in, I would say, like top 10% of players. But I will also mention when heroes are good in lower ranks. So, okay, enough disclaimers, let's get into this. AFK is a pretty bad hero, not quite D tier, like you can still high rolls depending on the tribes in the lobby. So you do want good tier 3 tribes like Max and Quillboars, and maybe Elemental or Pirates. Like you can check which cards you like to hit on tier 3, but AFK doesn't win lobbies. Akazamzark used to be good. I feel like he's not that good right now. The only good thing about him is that you can get an Ice Ball, can live like one more turn. But in the current state of the game, I wouldn't take him. Alakir is just an average tempo hero. It's just that. It's just like average. Nothing more, nothing less. Alexstrasza, I have to put bottom C. It's just not consistent. Dragons are also not in a great spot. They're pretty slow right now compared to the other scaling that the game has. And just rushing tier 5, hoping to get 2 dragons is not good enough. It can high roll, it could win lobbies, but most of the time I would prefer taking just a safe tempo hero and getting my MMR. When it comes to Arana, I think it was close between C and B tier. I'm still gonna put it bottom of B tier because you can still cheese wins with stuff like Party Elementals and Molten Rocks on tier 2 or get MMR. I think this is especially stronger in lower ranks. In higher ranks, doesn't see that much play. Then we have Ashe, who is, I think, also B tier. She used to be really good, then Naga's got multiple nerfs, as we all know, and now it's like you can still high roll Naga. Naga is still a good endgame tribe. It's not as consistent as it used to be, especially since people are playing a bit more tempo and it's harder for you to recover. Lord Barov will always be S tier in my heart. I think any hero that plays with extra gold is just so good. You can either be buying more tempo, be stronger, or leveling more aggressively, taking triples earlier. Barov is insane. Also, coins have a lot of synergies right now with like the Brute on tier 4 that skills whenever you play a spell, or just Atissa on tier 6, the Naga scaling whenever you play spells. But it's a high skill hero. In lower ranks, he doesn't do well because people don't really know how to make good use of your gold and how to win your bets. So if you're good with him, he's S tier. When it comes to the Cat, I think they're B tier. They're like have high roll potential if you're good at staying alive, playing tempo comps, and seeing lines that will be able to, well, yeah, keep you alive. Essentially, that's all you ever need to do. But playing without hero power is tricky, so I think it's also not an easy hero. You need good matchups, you need people in the lobby to die fast, so it's not consistent, but I think it is probably better than most C tier heroes. Death Speaker, I think, is higher on the B tier. He's also kind of average as a tempo hero, but I would actually prefer playing Death Speaker over most other tempo heroes like Alakir. Getting gems, Quillboars are just in such a good spot right now, and also it allows power levels way more cleanly, and I like going 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 and just using that momentum and that scaling and tempo that you get from your gems. What can I say? I'm just a sucker for Death Speaker. Rukan is going to be the first DT hero we see, and that is because this hero was designed in buddy meta, with buddies being removed from the game. He's awful. His hero power is like some tempo early, but that's about the extent of it. The only good use I found with it is that you can like hit divine shields with your 1 damage that you deal to people in the end game, but that's very situational, or that you can summon 1/1s whenever you have an avenge setup. So whenever you have a tank for tempo, or you're playing with a witch wing, being able to have multiple things die and trigger avenges. I guess the only use I really see with this hero power. Cariel, also D tier. I don't think this needs an explanation. I know in lower ranks, a lot of the heroes that I'm gonna put in D tier are good because tempo in lower ranks often is good. Like you just need anything that gives you slow scaling or slow stats, and you're able to perform better than most of the lobby because no one knows how to high roll efficiently on higher tiers and have exponential scaling and like crazy snowball potential. So that means that Cariel is probably higher rated and Brukan in again like around 5,000 or 4,000 MMR. But I mean, in the high ranks this never sees play just because the hero power is so bad. Nivala is interesting because it's not good or consistent, but when it high rolls, it could high roll hard. Elementals are sadly just not in a great spot. Like Lil Rag is very slow on tier 6, and you have the tier 4 tempo, I guess, with Major Domo, but it needs a miracle to really do well. And Cookie is the first A tier hero that we see because it just feels good. Getting a unit every 3 turns of the tribe you choose is amazing. It allows power levels. That 3-on-3 is back with Cookie, where you just level aggressively to tier 3 and get an early card. It just felt great every time I picked him. I think getting the tempo and the economy allows for some greedy plays and finding triples, and just it's good. Katoon, I'm gonna put D tier. A 2 gold hero power that slowly scales up your board is so bad. It never really wins lobbies or doesn't outscale other high roll. But again, in lower ranks, this is fine because any hero power that scales or gives you stats is just good naturally, because people don't know how to exploit the high rolls on higher tiers. Another big reason why I think this is the case is because economy is way more valuable in higher ranks than lower ranks. People know how to squeeze the maximum amount of value from every coin that you get, which is why Barav is so good. And heroes that generate you gold, like Gallywakes, they're good in higher ranks because the gold translates into a lot of stats and high roll, where in lower ranks the gold usually doesn't end up mattering as much. The Curator is awful right now just because you basically have Amalgam in the game, the new 3-drop, which is essentially just Curator's hero power. It's so bad. Deathwing, I think, is comfortably in the middle as well. It's a tempo hero that can level aggressively if you hit early red packs or beasts or mechs. Like, it's a decent tempo hero that you need to kind of use that tempo to transition into an endgame build, or just purely go with tempo and get a top 4, but it's not as consistent or as good as other heroes. Dancing Daryl, I wanted to put this B tier, but I'm gonna put a bottom of A because it's just too good and too consistent. If you're able to play Dancing Daryl well and you just play for stats as much as possible, you almost always get a top 3, and I think that's good enough to warrant it A tier. You can still push for first and second if you know how to pivot well and look for Leroys and stuff like that and counter your opponents, but I think this guy, we saw him in Lobby Legends also have a great performance. I'll have to put it A tier. So if you're watching this video after Diablo meta, don't pay attention to this part, but Diablo right now has to be A tier. It's just crazy how you can just murder an entire lobby in a single turn, play for full tempo, get the extra minion that you summon on board, and so many spells to use. Diablo is pretty good, and that's why I'm not having fun, for example, right now playing this hero. Dino Tamer Bran, I'm also gonna put A tier because a Bran is just good. Getting a free Bran is amazing, especially if the good tribes are in on tier 1. It's very consistent and reliable to get, and you get a lot of triples and economy as well with the new Naga that gives you coins. It's just so much money. With Swabby, with Ellicat, you can farm triples. And just in general, if there's Murlocs, you know, setting up a good Murloc or Menagerie board, working with Smogger. I'm just always having a blast playing Bran, and I think it's just really good. This is Drektar, right? Dude, I'd never touch this hero for a very good reason. When looking at Edwin, he's also just another tempo hero in the middle. I've done well with him sometimes I do poorly with him. If it's a mech lobby, for example, he's pretty alright because you can build some big deflectables, but that's about the extent of what you can do. Elise, pretty bad right now. Getting just a map as your hero power when leveling that is not even reduced is kind of shit. Yeah, this hero is just a worse version of a lot of other power level heroes. Now Eudora, I had to think pretty hard about this one because I might be a bit biased, but I'm having a lot of good Eudora games. I think getting a guaranteed golden card triple for cheaper than others, like others have to spend 9 gold if it's not a token on a golden triple. You spend 5. You do also lose out on the tempo of not having those cards actually on your board while you're making or looking for the triple, but there's a bunch of cool curves. You can do Suicide Curve, a Farm Curve, go for a 6-drop. I think it's so flexible. I just like it, and it's always very exciting to play and not even half bad. It can high roll, so I would honestly pick it over a lot of tempo heroes. Balin will probably be on the high end of B tier. I don't think I can give it A tier because he also doesn't have armor anymore. Now keep in mind, armor is relevant for all of these heroes, but it keeps changing so much I'm not gonna pay too much attention to it because in the end the hero power is what matters more, and I feel like armor isn't even influencing my choice on which hero I pick anyway most of the time. Like, you can give Katoon 20 armor and Barav 0 and I would still pick Barav because Barav will in the end still win against the Katoon. Anyway, yeah, Fallon, I think it's just not consistent enough for A tier. I've seen too many Fallons, and myself included, just die too early without making it to tier 6. Rating Finley is always a bit awkward because it could literally be any hero, but I'm basically gonna rate it at the point where I would take Finley if all of the heroes below are offered. And if any heroes above Finley are offered, I would take that hero, if that makes sense. I'm gonna put it right in the middle of B tier. If any of these are offered, I would rather take a Finley and try and get one of the heroes that is rated above it. Flurgle, I think he honestly used to be S tier, but right now he has to be D. It's just not worth playing with his nerfed hero power. It's just so bad and unreliable. Now it's gonna be towards the top of D because I think it's better than some of these others. It has potential maybe, but it's nowhere close to what it used to be. Galakrond actually goes somewhere in the middle of B. I think it used to be way higher rated when Naga especially was really good, but right now it feels actually pretty slow. I've seen people say that Galakrond is still really good. I also see people say that Galakrond is really bad, maybe even C or D tier. I think he's around the middle. Like, he still has more high roll potential than some of these others, but I would honestly pick an Adora over a Galakrond with the current state of the game. Being on a higher tier early is more valuable than just getting a higher tier minion early. Galewing I think is right below Finley. I would still pick Finley over Galewing, but I do think it has, like, it's just the worst cookie essentially, right? It gets the discover a turn later than Cookie would because you press your hero power on one, then you gotta wait 3 turns. It does have a little bit more flexibility with like the level option that you have. The attack you basically never choose, but yeah, it's just not as good, I would say. So it's just gonna be right around the middle again. Galewix I think is an S tier for me still. The snowball potential that he can generate with elementals and pirates, or just in general when playing any sort of brand comp or cycle comp or murlocs, getting extra gold is good. It is kind of busted. You can play with like 20 gold turns while others have to be stuck with 10 gold turns in the end game. Like, you have twice as much to spend. That's insane. You gotta get there though. So if you know how to stabilize early and not take too much damage and actually get your hero power up and running, then you'll be good. But it's definitely a high risk high reward hero, and I do know that he doesn't perform super well in lower ranks. George, I'm not gonna lie, I was tempted to put S tier, but I'll put at A. It still loses pretty hard to Ghoul, right? That's the entire thing. But the fact that if Quillbores are in and you can hit a single gem splitter, you're so well off. And even if people Ghoul you in the end game, you have a good chance at winning because gem splitter enables actual scaling with Agam and Menagerie being so good right now. And in the early mid game, you're usually so strong with your shields. You have so much flexibility. I've never really had a bad George game. Even if people Ghoul me, I usually gain MMR. So he's just so consistent right now. Again, mainly if Quillbores are in. Greybow is an interesting tempo hero, so I'm gonna put it amongst the other ones. It's good if beasts are in or demons are in, basically a lot of death rattle stuff, maybe mechs. You can force maybe a leapers with it. I think Mama Bear and Crocolisk is really good, but it usually again doesn't shoot for first places. Guff is another one of those useless heroes that is still in the game. Same as Carrial. Hero power doesn't really do enough. It's just bad. There's so many heroes right now in the game, which is a big issue, that are just really bad, that should be removed or reworked. You will see me slowly filling out the D tier with heroes I basically never pick, and a lot of people in higher ranks never pick. But that's a conversation for a different time. Hooktusk has to be top of A right now, again with the right tribes in, meaning tokens mainly on tier 1, so with Alicad, with all of the other cards that generate you gold. Easy to hit triples, easy to get economy, look for cards that you want. Hooktusk is just good and reliable. Eladon, another one of those heroes that shouldn't be in the game right now. No tempo pretty much. The big argument that people always give is, oh, imagine if you have double Mikado with Buster, it's so good, or with Goldrun, or having 2 big cleaves on the side. Like, you can make that argument for every hero. They're good in the ideal scenario or the ideal case, but getting there never works. Like, this guy never makes it to endgame because he's dead by then. A lot of trash heroes would be good in their ideal case, but yeah, no, Illidan is just awful. Now, Ini Stormcoil used to be really good. I think she was also introduced in the buddy meta, and without her buddy, she is pretty bad, and she got another nerf on top, so right now she's just not consistent at getting a bunch of max early on, and max is not even that good early on. You need to triple into Buster in order to ever have a chance, so forcing max is not even that amazing. Jenda is also top of A. If you just hit an Alicad, you win on the spot. So this hero, as long as Alicad works the way it does, is going to be reliably top of A tier if you know how to play her well. And even if Murlocs are in and just bouncing a lookout, or there's so many synergies still with the hero power, the fact that if she hits or high rolls, she hits so hard is just nuts. Jiraxus, I mean, what do you want me to say? Galtas is another tempo hero that is just worse than most others. I have to put it C tier. Yeah, it was close to B tier amongst all these guys. But once I look back to my own Galtas games compared to games where I played Alakir or others, like, you know what you're getting out of these. With this, it's always random stuff and it falls off so quickly. It's just not worth picking this hero. Crag has a lot of potential. He'll be on the higher end of B tier. I was considering putting him A tier, but he's just not consistent. Like, he can high roll, he gets the extra econ, but only once, while the heroes in S tier get it continuously. So it just doesn't really quite compare to that, but if you spike, you can spike hard. Kurtrus is once again one of those tempo heroes that is not as good compared to the ones in B tier. It's gonna join next to Kaltas. The Lich King has to be right ahead of Finley. I don't like playing the hero, so I might still pick Finley over it, but I know how consistent it is. I know how much tempo you have early game, the late game potential with Leroy or with Golden Selfless. So the hero power is just reliably good. Lich Bazial, I will actually put B tier. This is again going to be very player personal. Like some people might put it A tier, some people D tier. In lower ranks especially, this hero is awful, but in higher ranks she does do okay, just because again you get money, and money players know how to use the economy properly for tempo and for high roll potential and leveling regressively. So this is one of the heroes that a lot of people hate and think is horrible just because you lose health when pressing your hero power, but that's not always necessarily a bad thing. So Maiev is gonna take the throne at top of S tier. I think it's the most reliable hero right now in the game. Every time I pick it, it feels good. I have 1 or 2 or 3 triples lined up, just doing a farm curve, taking 5 drops or 6 drops, getting your tempo. It's just good. Maiev is just nuts. If you don't know how to play her, definitely look into, well, the playstyle and how you are looking to farm triples with this hero power. Malygos is also kind of average right now. You do need a good lobby with him if there's tokens on 1 and alley cats especially. You can get some good value out of the hero power, but other than that, he's not that great. Turns out that Millhouse is a surprisingly difficult hero to play. He's still top of B, I think, because he does have a lot of potential and he can definitely pull off some disgusting boards if he hits the right scaling, but it's a hard hero. Getting to use your gold efficiently without rolling too much turns out to be real tricky. Maleficent is once again one of those bad tempo heroes. It forces you into max really hard, and other heroes can play max way better than just getting your +1/+1 bonus. Mukla is actually a surprisingly decent performing tempo hero right now, because on tier 1 you can hit Tricksters or Pubbots or Chroma Wings, and those are just good enough tempo to allow you to level, and bananas are against spells just like Barrow of Hest synergy with cards with the Nagas on tier 4 and 6. Mutinous right now feels so sad without Buddy. I'm so used to playing this with Buddy and it felt so great. I think it was close to S tier, but it's just not the same, and it doesn't compare to what you can do in the game right now. If it's a tempo meta, Mutinous is usually pretty good, but I mean, if Diablo is gone, things are back to tripling into 5s and 6s early, and Mutinous doesn't really look for triples. Honda is good. Getting flexibility is good. I think it's also just a fun and exciting hero to play because you never know what you're gonna get. You never know your next hero power, which is an up and down side. The upside is that sometimes you can be bailed out. Sometimes you're in an awkward situation with your gold or you don't know what to do. So your hero power is like, here's a Reno hero power, or here's a Yashiraj hero power. Now you can level. And it just feels great to play this guy. But it can also be awkward because you don't know what the future holds, so you can't really set up what leveling curve you're gonna do yet. You have to take it turn by turn and see what you get offered. But in the right hands, he can be an absolute menace. Nosdormu is kind of whatever. I think this is the most average hero there is. Just getting a free roll every turn makes it that you can a little bit more consistently farm triples on tier 1, or if you're leveling, get like a little bit stronger cards on average. So again, average on average, you're like slightly ahead of someone without hero power. Nazov, I'm gonna put top of C because I know it has potential with frogs, or if you do hit like the nuts, but most of the time you don't hit the nuts, and most of the time you die because other people hit the nuts before you. Omu, again, an all around just good hero. It allows you to level cleanly without losing tempo, getting extra gold. You'll notice again, it's a hero that gives you economy that is higher up there. If you just know how to build a good board while leveling, you'll do great. Onyxia is just bad. Again, there's Avenge synergies if you do hit those cards on tier 4, but still, you have a bit of early tempo and you just gotta leverage that properly. It's not good enough. Now, the new hero we got is actually really interesting. I've had a lot of people tell me that they actually have good results with it, and I do agree. In lower ranks, it's probably again really good. But even some top players told me that this is a really good A to S tier hero. But then again, I've also heard a lot of other top players say this is a trash hero like D or C tier, and this is absolutely unplayable for a lot of reasons, and I would tend to agree with that, but I gave it a little bit more time and I've thought about it a bit more. I think it's about average. In all honesty, if you just compare the tempo that this puts out early game and how it like progresses in the late game, it's just in the middle of the pack. Like, I would still compare it to Alakir or Greybow as a hero option. I'm not too hyped about it, but I'm also not too pessimistic about it. Patches, I'm gonna put it A tier. I think this might be a surprise to some people, but it feels so good right now to play patches. If you can once again build good boards, allow your hero power to just give you tempo and econ and triples, and you're able to play APM pirates properly, or just go with Eliza, or even pivot into something completely else. Just use your hero power and momentum to level, and then change into whatever the hell you find. Patches is just fun, and I think also, for me at least, pretty consistent. Patchwork, one of those heroes that, I don't know, just getting extra health. It's not really a great hero power. It's back in D tier. Pyramid, this hero, why it's in the game, I don't know, man. Just get rid of it. It's so bad. Queen Wactigal, same deal. I think it's like more in the middle of D tier because you could just use the momentum with this hero to level more aggressively, but you're still in a really awkward spot then. It's just not a great hero. Rafam, I'm gonna put A tier, actually below Patches. He has felt good sometimes, but also really awkward. People can play around Rafam still really well by power leveling, selling their board, putting in a Tabby Cat first. I've been screwed over with Rafam too many times, and sometimes you just level to tier 5 without even a triple lined up because you're not guaranteed to get it with his hero power. But you can also high roll really hard, hit it really hard, steal the right cards. So I feel like Rafam is too hit or miss to place it amongst the top A tier that is way more consistent. Rag used to be my favorite tempo hero, but sadly it can't really keep up with the pace of the game right now, and especially again with triples being so relevant. So he's just gonna be top of C tier. I would probably pick him over some other tempo heroes, but again, that's more personal preference. When I'm looking at it objectively, I think he has to be right here, because his hero power, getting it active sometimes takes a while, especially if people are gonna play some pretty bad boards. Rakanishu is a really bad tempo hero. I mean, there's not much more I can say. The Rat King is an even worse tempo hero. I really don't know what else you want me to say. And now here's maybe the most controversial take. Reno, I'm gonna put S tier, above Gallywix, because I have played Reno so many times recently as soon as buddies were removed, and I've not had a single bad game with him. I think every time I just stay on tier 1, try and find and force a triple. Even if I don't find it, I just stay a turn longer on tier 1. Then you just level, triple into any 5 or 6, check the tribes in the lobby. This is really important, which tribe you need to triple into, and just hero power it, and you will get your free top 4 if you're not too greedy and you know how to play him well. So be able to reserve health, guarantee that you get a triple, and just triple into a 4, 5 or 6 depending on the tribes in the lobby. Hero power, whatever you think is relevant in the spot that you're in. Golden Agams, Golden Bran, Golden Mama Bear, Golden Atissa, it has all worked for me. Rokara, it's kind of whatever of a tempo hero. Again, I'm just gonna put it in the middle of C tier. It is some bit of passive scaling, which is nice, but often on cards that you're not even gonna keep anyway, or that are that good. You have to kind of force max with this. Overlord Sarfang is a D tier tempo hero. Most tempo heroes I put in C or B because they have potential, but I mean, I think it's Rat King level of bad. Getting just an attack buff on a mech, I mean, compared to Rokara here, it's just bad. Scabs definitely has to join the high rollers on S tier. Getting cards for 2 gold early on, it's like Cirella but on steroids, because you also steal from your opponent, and your opponent usually has good cards, and you don't reduce things to a 2/2. Scabs are just good. In the end game, you're gonna steal so many great cards. If someone triples, you might steal whatever the hell they triple into. It's just good. It's just Scabs. Now Shudderwalk, I have to place top of B. I can't really put him S or A tier, even though we all know he can high roll like absolutely insane. You do need to get tribes in the lobby. You do actually need to hit a lot of tokens and a lot of gold generating stuff. If not, you can still do well with him, and you could still get a top 4 even if you only have 1 or 2 triples, but he's not at the level of consistency that these other heroes have. Silas is gonna be A tier. I think it's just a good hero. It just good. Kind of like Cookie, it generates you cards. Obvious 7 tier, however, and you need tickets, and I've been getting screwed on my shop sometimes. If you power level and you don't hit tickets, you're in a really awkward spot, because what do you do? So just because of that, I need to put him a little bit lower than Cookie, but he does have potential to also get more discovers like in a single turn than Cookie. So it's a little bit like more high rolly, I would say. Okay, we're slowly getting there. Now onto Syndragosa. I mean, I love Cindy. It's a really fun hero, but it has to be D tier. It's again like mediocre tempo that is just awkward. And then Sneed, this hero, dude, why is it in a game? It's even worse than Pyramid, I think. Like 2 gold? Are you kidding me? Thompson, another really bad hero that has been, I think, buffed like once or twice, or changed. I don't even know if it was strictly a buff. It more looked like a nerf to me. Even with their buddy, it's just not good. Now this guy who shoots is gonna be bottom of C tier, because I mean, it's a useful hero power sometimes, and people again point out the best case scenario. Or you can snipe a Baron or a Leroy or Yes, but you gotta make it to that point and you gotta get there and get lucky enough and have your hero power carry you somehow through the rest of the game. In ideal cases, it's nice to tech around your opponents, but hey, I'd rather just have a hero that gets me multiple 6 drops early on. Das fell off quite a bit. It used to be really dominant, but that's at the start of most metas because everyone plays the same stuff and everyone is playing Naga. You steal all of the Naga, you win. But right now, it's kind of a mess. Everyone plays kind of whatever, which is really good. I think we're in a healthy state, at least, you know, when Diablo is gone. And Das is usually not that good in those kind of metas because you're kind of facing a lobby that's doing all different stuff. Ticketus ended up being surprisingly good for me. I don't really like the hero and I don't think it doesn't seem that good to me either, but I've just only had good results with him and it felt good every time to pick the good stuff early or extra golds or a 1-drop and then get a great spell on turn 8 where you level usually to tier 5 or even tier 6 if you're really aggressive, and that snowball can just keep going. It just, I don't know, it feels good. When it comes to Toki, they have to be bottom B. They have potential again to hit good cards from hero power. It's more riskier than, for example, an Adora or a Galakron because it's more random, but I've definitely won games with it. Also, I've also lost a bunch of games with it. It's just gonna be in the middle. Now this hero, wait, is this Vandar? I forgot what this guy's name is. It's gonna be just D tier. Now this hero that can like generate a lot of pairs early on and triples, I would have liked to rate it higher, but it's just sadly not good enough. It can high roll, I've seen it do well once again, kind of like Toki, but very often you're playing from behind. It's just not as consistent once again. When it comes to Vol'jin, I think this is one of the hardest heroes to play in the game. It does have synergies with like Naga spells, for example, with whatever. Tribes are really important, but also just figuring out what the hell you're gonna do and how you scale and how to properly manage your hero power. It requires a lot of thinking. It's not an autopilot hero and every game also looks quite different with him. I just think he's in the middle of B because his hero power doesn't allow for the kind of high roll that other heroes have. You don't get triples either with him. It's like a better version of Mutinous, kind of, is what I would say right now. Cirella is actually surprisingly one of my favorite heroes in the game right now. It feels so good. Getting again 2 gold units is amazing, as we can demonstrate with Scabs staying on 1, getting all those tokens and triples. It's a better Yogg, I think. Yogg plays more for stats because he gets a +1/+1 and it's random, but Cirella, it just feels good every time I play her. Saving that gold every turn, it's huge. And now here's a Yogg that I talked about. I'm just gonna put it in the middle of B. It's still a surprisingly good tempo hero. You can level while pressing your button and just try and figure out what the hell you're doing on higher tiers. But that's about it. Again, you don't really have a hero power in the mid end game. Ysera has to be D tier. I'm gonna put it a little bit higher up because it could still get triples and get like Targosa promo, but the issue is that Targosa promo got nerfed. It's now on a higher tier. It's also not as good scaling compared to, well, the other stuff in the game, and dragons are not in a great spot. So because of all of those reasons, Ysera just has to be in D tier. Yashiraj is probably top of B. Again, kind of like Yogg, it can level and press the button, but instead of getting a random card from the shop at +1/+1, you get something from your current 7th tier, which might have more potential because you could already hit direction or scaling and usually a stronger card. So I think it's just a better version of Yogg. And last but not least, Zephyrus. But before I do that though, if you enjoyed this tier list, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe, because most of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So that would help me out a lot and you would get to catch more content. Anyway, Zephyrus, I feel like he's always bouncing around quite a bit, but I think he is gonna be in B tier on the higher end because you kind of can guarantee triples, which is pretty good. Without the buddy, it feels a lot worse as well. And I think it's just a way worse version of Reno. Like, you can golden something from a lower tier with this if you get 2 copies of it. This, you just need a triple and you golden something, whatever you triple into. It can just do well, but it's not guaranteed, is what I would say. Alright, so this is a tier list. If you want to screen grab it, I'm gonna leave a link in the description below so you can actually just download it and have it on your computer, I guess, or just look at it. And yeah, whenever there's a big shakeup coming, I'll do another one, so be sure to stick around for that. If you want to see one tip for every hero, at least every hero that was in the game half a year ago, then click on the video on the screen right now. I might do an updated version on this, but this one is still pretty accurate and hopefully gonna help you out.